Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming along. Today, we're going to give you a quick run through of the Data Analyst Apprenticeship, the Level 4 program, which is a great way to upskill yourself in key data analytics skills, and also is a great starting point if you're considering a career within data analysis. This session is being recorded, so do feel free to drop any questions you might have in the chat, and I will pause to answer them as we go through. So let's get started. If you do have any interests around apprenticeships in general, whether they be in data science or AI, and want to find out a bit more about them, do please go along to our website. We have a whole page with plenty of resources and even an ebook that tells you all about apprenticeships, how they work, the various options, whether it be level 7 data science or machine learning apprenticeships, or even data analyst, as well as degree apprenticeships in data science. So plenty of information there if you do want to find out a bit more, or even share it with some of your colleagues. Just very briefly about me, so you can get to know me. I'm head of training solutions. I'm Tony, and I advise our strategic client partners around how they can best deliver on their skills strategies around data science and AI. My background is in biotech strategic management, and I've been involved in the science, FMCG and tech sectors during my career. So if you do have any questions, do feel free to drop me an email or even try and connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd be more than happy to support. So just key bit of information before we get going. If at the end of this or during it, if you're really keen, the way to get in touch or look at starting to enroll or apply, your best options are either get in touch via our website. There's plenty of forms, either contact us or even on our individual apprenticeship pages. You can register your interest there, or even get in touch with your apprenticeship contact or L&D contact within your employer, and put them in touch with us, and we'll be able to have a discussion. The next stage would be completing a registration form, and then there are eligibility and prior learning assessments that you would need to complete before being accepted onto the program. So the next intake is in January, and we have a deadline for Monday the 16th of November for submitting registration forms. So the sooner the better in terms of applications, so do get in touch as quickly as possible. And kickoff would be 15th of January with the first workshop starting in February. So that's housekeeping done. For those of you who don't know who we are, we're a specialist data science and AI training provider. We specialize in helping organizations upskill. We do that through various means, including general data analysis, data science or machine learning courses, but also delivering them through the apprenticeship levy. So ensuring that your employer can have it completely funded by the government. And we also deliver that at both BSc and MSc levels. So if you are interested in any of those, do also get in touch with us. Here's an overview of the different programs. So the Data Analyst Level 4 is where we'll be focusing today. So that's an apprenticeship. It does offer a really good progression route into our Level 7 programs, whether it be an MSc or even a data science or machine learning engineer program, which is also master's equivalent. We do also do BSc, and on bespoke cases, we do offer in-house academies for employers. So yeah, that's a full range of our offerings. And here are just a few of the businesses we work with and who we support. And across these industries, we're doing everything from apprenticeships, data science, AI, analytics. So it's quite a broad range, and hopefully you can see that there's great scope in terms of the transferability of skills, regardless of what area or industry you're in. So in terms of the specialist roles within data, the data analyst is by far the sort of key starting point, and provides the sort of day-to-day reporting and diagnostics and insight, business insight, intelligence for an organization. And it is very much so the sort of starting point in terms of getting into a data science career. You know, the next stage up for a data analyst is moving into a sort of data science role. That's very much focused on predictions, recommendations, you know, and a bit more sort of exploration of data sets and coming up with experiments and trying to work out ways in terms of how you can use data. Data engineers and machine learning engineers, so they by default, and it's the clues in the name, are very much engineering focused. Data engineers are all about integrating systems, how you can you know, set up the infrastructure for scaling and monitoring data usage and systems. And machine learning engineers are all about how you can bring a machine learning model into production and ensure that you're maintaining it and performance tuning it on an ongoing basis. So they do require some sort of engineering background, usually either in computer science or software engineering. But we're talking about data analysts today, and I thought this was a really great article to highlight the importance of a data analyst and why every organization needs them. I'm a big fan of Harvard Business Review. I find they have got some really interesting insights, and this particular article really was singing the praise of the data analyst and saying, you know, within an organization, the two key roles that you need are a data analyst to provide the insights, the evidence, and the evidence and the information required by decision makers. So if you've got decision makers and analysts, you're in a pretty good place. So it just highlights how key data analysts can be within an organization. Now, what are apprenticeships? I assume you might know, but I'm going to give you a quick run through. So apprenticeships historically maybe have a bit of a bad rap, or maybe a bit of a stigma attached to them. They're actually really diverse in terms of what they can do and for who. Apprenticeships start from everything from sort of you know, everything from a, you know, sort of level 4, which we're delivering, which can be the equivalent of a first year of a degree, an undergraduate degree, all the way through to a master's level. And they're actually suitable for any age from 16 upwards. So they're really good tools for a robust and comprehensive means to learn a new discipline. And they can help you advance your career or even completely change it. So if you're considering, you know, whether it be upskilling yourself for your current role or even looking to upskill for a different role, an apprenticeship's a really great way to do it, and is really attractive for your employer because ultimately they get it funded by the government. And just in case you weren't aware, so the apprenticeships we're talking about today are focused for England only, and large organizations with wages over 3 million per annum, they get their apprenticeships 100% funded because they pay a levy. But smaller employers that don't fall into that bracket, they only have to pay 5% of the cost, so they still get 95% of the apprenticeship funded. So it's still really attractive for them as well. And just reiterating the opportunities that this this program provides, because apprenticeships are all about developing your career. The data analyst level 4 actually provides a great route into those more advanced and a fast track route into those more advanced programs such as the AI data specialist and MSc in data analytics. Now, who is it suitable for? So the data analyst program is really suitable for anybody that's not got any program experience or is maybe just dabbled in it. It's really that sort of entry point into the data science or data sphere in terms of pathways. And as mentioned, it provides you with a good grounding in terms of being able to then move on to more advanced programs. So a quick overview of the program. Who's it for? It's suitable for anybody who's actually using data or working with spreadsheets or trying to make evidence-based business cases. So if that sounds like you or someone in your team, it's a really good tool for that. It's for employees across England. We do actually offer the program to those who aren't in England, and they can be funded you know, in a traditional way. So that is potentially an option if you fall outside of that bracket. And what it is, so the program's 14 months long, so it's 14 months while you're learning, and then there's up to 3 months to complete your endpoint assessment at the end. And you'll learn Python, so the whole program is Python based. You'll then go on to the key topics around data analysis, and also introduction to machine learning and big data techniques. So you get a really well-rounded understanding of some pretty key tools and techniques that are pretty essential for doing any sort of data analysis nowadays. One of the commitments that you have to make is 20% of your work time has to be committed to learning activities. That's non-negotiable. That is across the board for all apprenticeships. So being able to say that you can commit on average 1 day a week. Now it is flexible, so it doesn't have to be 1 day a week. It could be 2 one week and none the next week, but you do need to commit that 20%, and that will need to be signed off also by your manager and your employer. And of course, it's government funded, and you do get a formal qualification at the end. So apprenticeships are regulated, and they are assessed by endpoint assessment organizations. So you can have confidence that the skills you're learning are, really high quality and are, sort of required and defined by education bodies. And how do we deliver it? So you'll take part in virtual instructor-led workshops. After each workshop, you'll also be attending live coding sessions, where these will be supporting you in tackling real-world simulated projects on our Kate platform, which I'll give you a little view of later. Really engaging way to learn, and you get immediate feedback, and you get scores, and you get to see how your code performs. So it's really quite effective. You'll also have a dedicated coach who'll be in charge of making sure that you're progressing and learning really effectively. And you'll also be supported by technical mentors. So these are individuals who'll be able to help you with your work-based projects, and ensuring that you can apply those skills, and any technical challenges or questions that you need answering, you can get support for that. Your training will be 100% connected to the work you're doing on a daily basis. So everything that you're learning, you will need to be applying and evidencing how you're applying that, and that's all wrapped up in your work-based project portfolio. So you'll work on 4 projects throughout the apprenticeship that you'll need to write up and produce a portfolio out of. So quickly, to just review the assessment process in terms of onboarding and eligibility. So apprenticeships are, as I mentioned, government regulated and funded, and part of that means there are some strings attached in terms of who is suitable and eligible. So one of the key things is making sure that you haven't got too much prior learning. So it's important that you haven't done a lot of, or haven't got a lot of experience or education in the topic. And really the idea behind that is the government doesn't really want to fund you for something you already know. So one of the first steps is up for us to assess, your experience, your education, but also it's important to ensure that you're in a relevant role. So you need to be working with data regularly, and you need to be able to apply those skills. So if you can't think of how you could be applying, the skills covered in the data analyst program, it's probably not the right one for you. So just something to keep in mind. It's also important that you can pass or already have GCSE level English and maths. Again, that's a non-negotiable set by the apprenticeship body. So by the end of the program, you do need to have GCSE level English and maths. Ideally, you already have certificates in it. So if you need to go and find them and dust them off, then it's important you do that. And then we'll need to assess your prior learning and knowledge. So that will impact on your eligibility. So can you join the program? Because if you have too much prior knowledge, it may not be suitable for you. And then if required, you're sort of on the cusp, we will have a professional discussion, and we will also do a functional skills assessment. So functional skills are the English and maths that I mentioned. You need to reach a certain level to be able to join the program. But you don't necessarily have to pass straight away. And then if you don't have your certificates for those levels, then you will need to complete a exam and pass an exam while on program. So this is a lot of detail about your entry requirements, but I'm trying to highlight the key ones. So as I mentioned, it's that relevance of your role. You need to be analyzing data, and that needs to be central to your role. You shouldn't have significant experience in data analysis or anything more advanced. Definitely need to be able to commit that 20% of your working hours. You need to be employed for the duration of the program. Definitely not okay if you have a computer science, data analysis, or data science degree or education that's relevant. Great if you have a basic STEM background, so A level in a science or maths subject would be really advantageous. And as I mentioned, GCSE level English and maths is pretty important. So yeah, ultimately you should be pretty comfortable using computers, particularly Excel, PowerPoint, and should have some basic data literacy. So this is a sort of encapsulation of how you will be learning on the program. There's 4 key stages to your learning process, and this would revolve around each module that you undertake. So the first stage is learning, and that's the interactive workshops. So you'll be attending live interactive workshops where you'll be introduced to different concepts, tools, techniques, and you'll be working on those and trying them out during the class. So we've got notebooks and projects that you'll be tackling. Once you've completed a workshop, you'll then go on to your experimentation phase, and this is where you actually get to practice on our Educate.ai platform. And that CAPE platform really gives you real-world simulated projects, so you can take all those tools and concepts and techniques and apply them in a real-world simulation. So you will be working with a real data set, you will have to tackle a real problem, but it helps you to bring that all together, and you get immediate feedback, you get scores, you get recommendations on how to improve your code. So it really helps you go from that theory and conceptual, those conceptual topics in the workshops to actually application. And then the third step is actual application in the workplace. And this is where you build your work-based projects. So there'll be 4 throughout the program, and you usually start to scope them out from module 3 and 4 onwards. And that's where you can really demonstrate the impact and the return on the investment and the time that you're putting in, and also the investment your employer, your manager and your team, I'm sure, are putting into it. So that's where you get to evidence and show that these skills are beneficial and you're driving value off the back of them. And the last stage is reflection and conceptualization. So through both coaching, you'll have regular coaching sessions, but also writing up your project portfolio. That gives you an opportunity to reflect and understand, what's working well, where are the gaps, where do you want to get to? And by reflecting on that, you can start to put a plan together and also really start to embed the learning and how you've applied things, which will just help round off that learning experience. So the program's really hands-on. It's probably 70 to 30 in terms of hands-on versus theoretical. So it's going to give you some really practical learning experience, and you'll come out really comfortable in terms of how you can apply those skills in the real world. And in terms of the teaching workshop schedule, so we have a regular schedule per module, which usually one module can take between 1 and 1.5 months. And the way that works is the first 2 weeks, you'll have 1 day of teaching, typically 1 day of teaching. So week 1, day 1 of the module, and week 2, day 2 of the module. And after each module, you'll have some case assignments to work on. So you can go away, you've learned something in the workshop, you can go away, practice it for a week, and then you come back week 2, you do the second day, and again you carry on with the assignments. And then in week 3 there will be a 1.5 hour live coding session, and that's where a expert data scientist will tackle a project that you will have been working on, so one of those case assignments. So you'll get to see how a professional does it, and you'll also get a chance to ask questions and get coaching off the back of that. So really helps bring it all together. And then week 4 onwards, you really get to finish off your CAPE projects if you haven't, and then also work on any other research or learning that you need to complete. And the commitment, so it's a long program, it's 14 months, and then you've got your endpoint assessment at the end. But during that 14 months, so you've roughly got to commit approximately 2 days for 9 modules, and that's roughly 1 day a week, and that's 18 days in total. Then you've got those live coding sessions, which are 1.5 hours each for each of the 9 modules. There's a 2-day hackathon, which is delivered in a block, so you'll get to work on a real-world project and data set there. And then you do have a knowledge module assessment. This is an exam that takes about an hour. It's multiple choice. And then at the end of the 14 months, once you're ready to go onto your endpoint assessment, there'll be a 5-day block synoptic project that you'll have to do under exam conditions. And then there's a 1-hour interview where you'll have to speak to an assessor and talk around your project portfolio. So over this, all of these elements here, the learning elements will contribute towards that 20%. So that 20% needs to happen over those 14 months. And you need to, by the end of the program, to evidence that you have spent 20% of your working hours on learning. So there does need to be a recording of that. And it's worth mentioning, all the workshops and sessions are recorded and available afterwards. It is compulsory to attend the live sessions for the first 5 modules. And all the live coding sessions, but the last 5 modules can be self-paced, and you can watch recordings of lectures instead. And this is a rough structure of the program. So you've got 9 modules with a hackathon in the middle. First 5 you need to attend live, but all the way through you've got those instructor-led lectures with recordings available. You'll be working on your CATE assignments all the way through. There's coaching sessions. This is your one-to-one coach sessions, and the tripartite sessions are with you, your coach, and your manager. So this is an opportunity to make sure that everybody's on the same page, surface any issues, and just make sure that we've got a really good plan to ensure that you're successful on the program. And during each module, you'll have a study group. So you'll be allocated into a group of other students where you can get together, you can share ideas, support each other. It's really important that you build a strong network around you to help work through things, because particularly when you come off the program, going forward, you're going to have to rely on peer-to-peer learning and problem solving. So getting into the habit of working with others and supporting each other will set you up really well. As mentioned, also, you'll be building that portfolio of data science projects. So that's, in theory, the 80%. So on an apprenticeship, you should be spending 20% of your time learning and 80% doing your job, and also producing your project, your 4 work-based projects. We provide support all the way through, and we conduct regular surveys. So that's an opportunity for you to give us feedback and help us make sure that you're getting the best experience that you can. And if you need to do a functional skills, that's English and maths exam, that will happen at some point during the program. And there will also be a BCS knowledge exam, that's that multiple choice, before you come to what's called Gateway. That's to say, okay, you've completed your learning, now you can go through to conduct your final assessment before you get your certificate. Now, this is the curriculum. So it's very high level here. If you've got more questions about the details of it, you can go on our website, download the brochure and the prospectus as well, or even do get in touch with us and we can schedule a call to talk through things in a bit more detail. But you'll be starting off by learning Python, which is a really key skill and forms the basis of being able to do everything that comes after, but also is a really powerful language for very many reasons. So learning Python will be a life skill that will put you in a really good place for your career. You'll then start to get into how to process data using tools such as pandas. You'll then move on to data visualization. You'll be able to create graphs and interactive visuals and dashboards. So these 3 modules together are extremely powerful. You'll then start to learn SQL, and you'll learn a bit about databases and other topics. So that's where you can start to use other languages and tap into other databases to draw out data that you can ultimately analyze in Python. There's then a module covering web scraping, JSON and APIs. So these are other ways for you to collect your data. And then we get into the juicy stuff. We'll start with an introduction to machine learning. We'll then cover supervised and unsupervised learning, as well as time series analysis. So working with time-based data. And then we'll also cover big data systems to really help you tackle those larger data sets in efficient ways. And we do have some knowledge and business modules. So these are separate to the technical modules that you'll be doing. And those will include the data hackathon, where you'll be applying those skills in practice. There's also a data science for business, data science for business module. And then we also cover data privacy, ethics, and regulations. So the hackathon, as mentioned, it's 2 days, and it's sort of a real world simulation where you get to work in a team. You get assigned a real world data set and problem. So you'll have to apply exploratory data analysis and work with various databases. You then have to prepare a report, and you'll have to report your learning outcomes, and also what you've achieved and what you think is the next steps. So that's where you get to prepare a presentation and really communicate back to management, so to speak, as you would on the job. So it's a really engaging way to evidence what you've learned so far and put those skills to the test. And everything is virtual. So the way we are delivering the learning is, as mentioned, you've got those virtual instructor-led workshops, and in each class you'll have a lecturer, but you'll also have a tutor who will be on hand to provide you with one-to-one support. So if you have any questions during the course of the workshop, they will be able to support you straight away, and that's where you get that instant Q&A from those experts. And learning is highly interactive, practical, hands-on. I'm sure you can notice that given the interactivity of the workshops, but also the practical assignments on Educate.ai. So you'll be applying your skills all the time, and it'll get you really comfortable with how to use all the different tools and techniques. And then you do have those virtual study groups as well. So you'll have access to a Slack community where you can come together, chat, socialize, but also discuss what you're learning and working on, and tackle some of your assignments, whether they be the CATE assignments or even your work-based projects. And who will be looking after you and teaching you? So our teachers, they're really great people. They often have PhDs in machine learning or data. They could be data science professionals working in industry. They'll be teaching you. They'll be part of the tutor group as well, and they also are the ones who help develop our curriculum and e-learning. So it ensures that you've got the cutting edge techniques and also know how they can be applied in the real world. You'll then obviously have those coaches who are professionally trained, so they know how to support you from a learning perspective and career perspective. And then obviously those technical experts which will be able to support you in your work-based projects. So Educate.ai, I've mentioned it a few times. It's our own proprietary platform that we've developed, and it's very much based on AI. So it understands what you're doing, how you're doing it, and it provides immediate and personalized feedback and recommendations based on your code. I'll give you just a quick look at it so you can see what it does. So this is Educate.ai. Feel free to go and have a look on the website, and I'm going to give you a demonstration of how it works. So here's a real sneak peek into the learning materials. So once you've completed a workshop, you'll have complete access to CATE. So say we've completed module 2, data processing with pandas, you'll be able to go into that module and you'll have all the learning units. So these are the topics that you'll be covering within it. So you can go and click view PDF, and then within that, you have full access to all the slides that were covered in the lecture. So all that information is there for you to refer back to as you need it. And that's particularly important when you start working on your assignments. So here are a few examples of the different assignments you might be working on. So it could be analyzing a stock price data set, or a vehicle data set, or a very relevant one at the moment, a coronavirus data set. And I'll show you very quickly how Kate works with a very simplistic example. So here's a project that I was working on. So this is actually a technical assessment for Python programming fundamentals. So you can click into that assignment and Kate will give you a bit of an overview of what you're trying to achieve. It gives you some instructions here, which I'm going to skip through. But you can work on the web IDE, so within the browser, and you'll see that in this case, and don't be overwhelmed if you've not come across Python before. It's pretty straightforward once you get to know it. But there's some instructions here, and it tells me for this exercise you'll need to implement a function that computes the minimum number of units that need to be manufactured by a factory for their process to be profitable. So I can see here that function needs to be called minimum profitable volume, and the inputs are the selling price, the fixed cost, and the cost per unit. So if I look down here, there's actually some code that I've already prepared. So I can read through these instructions, the examples, write my code, and I can submit. And the great thing with Kate is you can submit as many times as you like. You can go back, iterate, doesn't matter how much you do, how much you change. And then once you click submit, Kate will generate some feedback and it will give you a score. And clearly I'm not doing very well at the moment. So I've got 4.31%. And I can see here by clicking on that project, I am passing 4 out of 11 tests and I've failed 7 out of 11. Okay, so if I just take a quick look at this test, it's told me what it's tested with, following inputs, so selling price, fixed cost, cost per unit. It tells me my result did not match the expected value. I returned 0 and an expected 1. Okay, that's something for me to use. I can go to the next test. Again, didn't match the expected value. I returned 1, expected value was 2. So if I go back, I can see that there's a difference of 1 there. Maybe that's a pattern, who knows. Test with almost the same cost. I returned 1, expected value 2. Okay, still a difference of 1. Higher values, regular inputs. Okay, so there's still a difference of 1, and there seems to be 1 consistently. So I'm going to try something very simplistic. I'm out by a factor of 1 every time. So if I add 1 and submit my code, then I can go to feedback to see what Kate's going to tell me. And Kate's generating some feedback. And voila. Okay, my score's gone up. It's actually doubled. So I'm feeling super motivated right now, and I'm passing all 11 tests. So it's great. So I've learned something. Kate told me some tests that it's applying. It gave me some tips. I've gone back, I've tried it out, and voila, I've got a great result. And one of the other things that Kate assesses is code quality. So there's a few different coding standards in Python, like PEP8 and PyLint. So it will tell you how to actually tackle those, and you can actually go and start to earn extra points off the back of that. So it ensures that your code is really high quality and will be ready for production, even if it was to be used by others as well. So really neat tool. So that's Kate. Again, if you have any questions, do feel free to drop them in the chat as we go. And there's a quick snapshot of what it looks like there, but that's something, and I will follow up with the recording and the slides after this. So as an apprenticeship, it's all about transfer of skills and driving value in the workplace. So ultimately, you've got that learning and off-the-job training, that 20%, which then needs to transfer into your work-based projects, and that's where you get to deliver that value. So it's a pretty key process in terms of how that will impact you in the workplace. And you bring that all together through the work-based projects, which roughly work out like this. So module 3, you'll start scoping your project. You'll then start implementing it and then complete it. And then you'll move on to your next work-based project and implementing it. So once you've completed a set of modules, you'll then be starting to implement, scope and implement a project all the way through until you get to the end of your program. And here's a little example of what's possible. This was one of our level 4 data analyst apprentices who's on our GSK academy. So we run an internal data academy for GSK, and within the first sort of 5 months, so that was really covering these first few modules. So this was his first project, which he completed here. he'd written a Python script for his team, which actually automated the data collection, processing, and analysis, and also produced an automatic visual and dashboard, which he was using to show outliers in his manufacturing facility. And what he managed to do is build something that was so useful that now 3 global teams are using it. There's 54 active users at any one point, and the estimations are that it's actually saved over £30,000 in IT resource and man hour, and weeks worth of man hours in manual data intervention. So it's been really impactful, and although this is a really amazing story, it just shows what the potential is on this program. By using Python, being able to automate, and streamline how you're processing, collecting, and analyzing, and also visualizing data can be extremely impactful for you, and a great story for you and also your team. So how will you be supported? So obviously you've got those expert-led teachers, you've got that personal coach, and you'll also have that expert technical support. That will be available during weekdays while you're working on your CAPE project, but also while you're scoping your work-based projects as well. And in terms of coaching, I mentioned there's 2 types of sessions. So you'll have those one-to-one sessions with your coach. Now, if you are struggling, you'll absolutely get more support if you need it. So it's one of the most effective ways to bring out the best in you and ensure you're improving your overall performance and success. And then in between those coaching sessions, you do also have a progress review that will be with your coach and line manager, and that's just a quick check-in to make sure everything is on plan, and your manager's on board as well. And if there's any issues, those can be ironed out pretty quickly. You'll also have an individual learning plan, and this is hosted on our platform Aptim, which is actually an award-winning apprenticeship software. So it's really the place where you get to do everything. You get to log all of your activity. You get to access and update your portfolio, and it's also a place where you can communicate with your coach, and your manager is also involved in that as well. So it's a really neat way to bring it all together. And in terms of technical support, so there's the Educate.ai ticketing system. So if you get stuck on anything, you can just log a ticket and somebody get in touch with you. You'll also have the technical mentorship for projects. So while scoping and implementing them, if you need technical support, it will be there. And there's also those live coding and tutoring sessions after each workshop. So you'll be able to see somebody tackle a project live and get ask questions about it while they're working on it. And one of the added benefits of joining the academy, so Cambridge Spark, we have a really strong network, and once you join, whether it be your own internal academy or the open academy, you'll be part of a family, which we have data scientists and data analysts from all over, who've actually gone on to do some really great stuff. Julia here is one of our ex-students who's now head of data science at Unipart, who are a large supply chain and manufacturing organization. So you'll be able to network with apprentices from many different organizations, but you'll also be in contact with our alumni and our teacher network, which can be really important for you and your success in the future. So 20% off the job requirement. It's quite important to understand exactly what that means and what needs to be committed to it. So that includes the workshops, so roughly 2 days every 4 to 6 weeks, those live coding sessions, any self-directed research. So if you're working on a problem, but you don't know how to solve it, and you go on Google or YouTube, you watch a video or you read a book, all of that contributes towards your 20%. So you can log that as well. Assignments on Educate.ai, so it's roughly 8 to 10 hours, or assignments should take roughly 8 to 10 hours for each module. Then there's the data hackathon, any exam preparation and practice, that's probably about 4 days in total. There's portfolio writing, any one-to-one or group coaching sessions, that all comes in. So these are all the things that might contribute to it. and it's important that you do track and evidence that, because if you don't achieve that 20%, it will put you in a position where you might not be able to complete your apprenticeship until you've added that all up. So in terms of your employer, what they need to do, they need to give you that 20% time, so they need to allow it. So if you're not being allowed the time to do that learning, then you need to raise that. You should be provided with all the opportunity to embed your new knowledge and apply it within the workplace. Obviously, if you have any issues around falling behind, they should be an escalation point for you to be able to say, look, I need some support. And they should also provide internal support and mentorship for you. And us as a provider, so we'll provide you with all your resources, your teaching, your coaching, any support you need to make sure you gain the necessary KSBs. And KSBs stands for knowledge, skills, and behaviors, and that's what the apprenticeship is all based on. And also provide support for you to pass all the exams and assessments that are needed. And just a quick review of the endpoint assessments. So these are under review. So there might be a new plan by the end of January or February. But currently as it stands, you need to complete those 4 work-based projects. You'll have that multiple choice exam during the program. And then at the end of the program for your endpoint assessment, you'll need to do that 5-day project under exam conditions. You'll need to submit your portfolio of projects. You'll have that professional interview talking about your projects, and you will also need an employer reference. So your employer should be able to say, yes, you've done a really good job. I really recommend this individual, and they've applied their knowledge in a really great way, which has had an impact. So those are all the things you need to pass your endpoint assessment. And we'll provide lots of support for it. So whether it be your work-based projects, you get technical experts mentoring you. Your knowledge exams, you'll have preparation workshops, practice exams, and for your endpoint assessment, you'll have feedback on your portfolio, and you'll also get a mock professional discussion. And certification, so you will receive a certificate from the British Computer Society, which is the Chartered Institute for IT, and you'll be able to either receive a pass, distinction, or merit. So that's a great result. And if you had any concerns about the English and maths functional skills, so we do have a great tool which will be able to assess your current level if you need it, if you don't have your certificates, and they'll also be able to provide you with learning resources, progress check, and also exam practice. So if you do not have those certificates for GCSE English and maths or equivalent, there is a tool that will help you to achieve that. So this is that covers everything, and this is the summary of the learning experience. So as mentioned, you'll have those learning modules every 4 to 6 weeks with live instructor-led workshops, recordings available as well. You'll have the live coding sessions and online practical projects and assignments on Kate. You do get tutors that will support you during the virtual classrooms for immediate one-to-one support. You'll get professional coaching every 12 weeks. There's technical experts on hand. You'll also have those study groups to support you. And when it comes to application, you'll have those work-based project portfolios. You'll have that data hackathon, which is a really great way to evidence your skills. And obviously, you'll be working on your Educate.ai real-world assignments throughout the program. Cool. So I haven't seen any questions. So if you do have any, do feel free to drop them in the chat now. I'll wait to see if anybody does have anything. Otherwise, do feel free to drop me an email or go to our website and sign up. Yeah, we'll be able to keep in touch.